Start your engines!
Here's the starting lineup for the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Row 20.
Regan Smith, Cato, New York.
Reed Sorensen, Peachtree City, Georgia.
Row 19.
David Reagan, Unadilla, Georgia.
Michael McDowell, Glendale, Arizona.
Row 18.
Matt DiBenedetto, Hickory, North Carolina.
Cole Witt, Alpine, California.
Row 17.
Landon Castle, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Michael Annette, Des Moines, Iowa.
Row 16.
Bobby Labonte, Corpus Christi, Texas.
Clint Boyer, Emporia, Kansas.
Row 15.
Brian Scott, Boise, Idaho.
Jamie McMurray, Joplin, Missouri.
Row 14.
David Gilliland, Riverside, California.
Paul Menard, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Row 13.
A.J. Allmendinger, San Jose, California.
Chris Busher, Prosper, Texas.
Row 12.
Chase Elliott, Dawsonville, Georgia.
Ryan Newman, South Bend, Indiana.
Row 11.
Danica Patrick, Roscoe, Illinois.
Kevin Harvick, Bakersfield, California.
Row 10.
Casey Mears, Bakersfield, California.
Tony Stewart, Columbus, Indiana.
Row 9.
Casey Kane, Enumclaw, Washington.
Kyle Larson, Elk Grove, California.
Row 8.
Dalen Hart Jr., Mooresville, North Carolina.
Martin Truex Jr., Maida, New Jersey.
Row 7.
Eric Amarola, Tampa, Florida.
Trevor Bain, Knoxville, Tennessee.
Row 6.
Brian Blaney, Hartford, Ohio.
Joey Logano, Middletown, Connecticut.
And now, the top 10 starters. Starting 10th.
Kurt Busch, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Starting 9th.
Denny Hamlin, Chesterfield, Virginia.
Starting 8th.
Jimmy Johnson, El Cajon, California.
Starting 7th.
Matt Kenseth, Cambridge, Wisconsin.
Starting 6th.
Austin Dillon, Welcome, North Carolina.
Starting 5th.
Brad Keselowski, Rochester Hills, Michigan.
Starting 4th.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Olive Branch, Mississippi.
Starting 3rd.
Kyle Busch, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Starting 2nd.
Carl Edwards, Columbia, Missouri.
And starting on the pole,
Greg Biffle, Vancouver, Washington.
that's the starting lineup for the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola.
We've had a lot of bad weather here at Daytona this weekend. Practice was washed out on Thursday evening. We got 45 minutes of practice on Friday morning and then pole qualifying yesterday afternoon. Rusty Wallace, how big a factor is that coming into a race, getting that little bit of practice?
Joe, at this particular racetrack, it's not a big deal. They've got all the Daytona 500 weekend under their belt. They know what springs and shocks and gears they're going to run. And one good thing that's going on right now at this track, we've had a lot of rain. The track is cool. It's going to be hooked up. It's going to make the cars handle better. Camouflage a bad handling car, might I add. If the car's not exactly right, this cool temperature and this green track will help it. So not as big a deal as you might see at maybe a place like a Michigan or a Charlotte or something like that. I don't think they're going to have any issues whatsoever tonight when it comes to handling.
We want to remind everybody, too, Joe, that the guy starting on inside row number 2 has got a grand total of 2 laps on that Toyota Camry. Talking about Kyle Busch, who hit the wall up in turn number 3 and 4. That car just stepped out from underneath him. Up the racetrack he went. Heavy impact with the outside retaining wall. He was fine. The car was not.
Yep, they had to pull out the backup, get it prepared in time for pole qualifying. The 2 laps you're talking about that he had on the car came in pole qualifying yesterday afternoon. So they probably go into this race wondering a lot about this race car, how good it's going to be.
Yeah, Joe, and that particular team you're talking about, Joe Gibbs Racing, they got so much depth in their race team with all these other teams out there. I mean, all they got to do is go to their notes, and then they just got to be confident that the car's prepared correctly. All the hoses are tight. Everything's all buttoned down. The car is what we call nut and bolted, where there's nothing going to come loose. He'll be just totally fine, I think. Kyle Busch is a great driver. This hasn't hurt him a bit. And, again, the green racetracks are going to cover some problems early if there is any handling issues.
What we've seen all weekend, the Ford's really good. The little bit of time we've seen cars on the racetrack. And maybe the story of the night is Greg Biffle sitting on the pole after the struggles Roush Fenway Racing has gone through the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's a Mr. Feel-Good story, really. It is, as he's been another driver like Tony Stewart's been kind of bitten, can't seem to get his mojo going. But now he's got a lot of enthusiasm behind him. He's on the pole for tonight's big race. He's pretty jacked up.
And that big race you're talking about, the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona, powered by Coca-Cola. The field slowly but surely climbing the banking over in turns 3 and 4. Coming around and looking for the American Ethanol green flag. E15 is available across the country. Look for it where you fill up. Off in the distance, the sun shining. Off on the beach, all the hotels now bathed in sunshine. In fact, up above, nothing but almost all blue sky. Happy Independence Day weekend from all of us at the Motor Racing Network. Now settle back and enjoy the ride as we are ready to go with the Coke Zero 400 at Daytona. And for the start, here's the Motor Racing Network's Joe Moore.
The pace car makes the hard left-hand turn. He's already on pit road, and here comes Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards on the front row, waiting for the American Ethanol green flag. It's in the air. We're underway on the 4th of July weekend at Daytona. Side by side, they come roaring up to speed, 2 by 2, down through the tri-oval, up into turn 1 for the first time tonight.
High-speed pace lap formation right now is nobody able to get an advantage inside lane with Carl Edwards now will pull ahead just a bit. Edwards with drafting help from his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate Kyle Busch. Busch to the inside will challenge Biffle for second.
Mid-pack, they're already 3 wide, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. has jumped to the high side of the racetrack. Now he'll squeeze in line in double wide formation, or at least try to, but he's still 3 wide around the 20th position as Carl Edwards leads to 3.
They continue 3 wide mid-pack. It is Edwards at the front of the field for the first time into turn 3, drafting help from his teammate Kyle Busch. They are side by side from third on back.
It is Thunder rolling off turn number 4, back to the start-finish line. Toyota Camry up front. One also running in the second spot. That's Kyle Busch. Now breaking out of line, running third. That's Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski takes it to the outside line. He's got no drafting help for the moment. Biffle trying to gain ground, but he's still a car length or so behind. Keselowski to the outside of Kyle Busch. Tries to squeeze him down to the bottom of the racetrack. They're side by side now. Here comes Keselowski for the lead.
Here's Keselowski. He'll go charging up the outside line. He's up to second with Kyle Busch. He'll now pull even with Carl Edwards. Side draft off of him. Keselowski with a fender out in front for the lead in Daytona.
So the outside lane with the momentum, but only for a moment. Brad Keselowski leading that outside lane, but here comes the inside. Battling back, led by Carl Edwards.
Ford and Toyota going at it side by side, coming back to the line to complete lap number 2 by inches. It is Carl Edwards. But here's Keselowski mounting the charge on the outside lane. He has a nose out in front in turn 1.
He's picked up some drafting help from Greg Biffle, from Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon, and others. But they're still side by side in row number 1. Keselowski by a nose up high. Carl Edwards down low.
Ford and Toyota battle for the lead now, with the Ford getting the fender out in front. That's Keselowski getting the edge, but the Toyota of Carl Edwards rallies back downstairs. Dead heat for the lead in 3.
Carl Edwards to the inside of Brad Keselowski. Behind them, it is Kyle Busch to the inside of Greg Biffle. And then Matt Kenseth, third car in line on the bottom. He's nose to nose with Ricky Stenhouse.
Side by side at the front of the field with Carl Edwards on the inside, Brad Keselowski on the outside. Then you've got Kyle Busch. You've got Greg Biffle right there. You've also got Matt Kenseth and Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
2 full laps now, door to door, elbow to elbow, inches apart. This time around, Edwards will get the advantage going into turn number 1. Keselowski slips back into a battle for second. Here comes Kyle Busch to his inside.
Kyle Busch will dive to the inside of the racetrack. He'll stay right behind his teammate Carl Edwards as they try to get things rolling on the inside line. They're 3 wide for about the 13th position. That's Austin Dillon to the outside of Blaney and Bain.
Trevor Bain to the bottom of the racetrack. Blaney caught in the middle, and Austin Dillon trying to get that extreme third line wound up and heading toward the front. Right now, outside of the top 10.
Usually when you see him going 3 wide, Rusty Wallace, that middle lane does not work at all. But it worked a few moments ago for Joey Logano. He got by. Right now the pressure is on Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, he was able to shake him loose on the last lap there and kind of bust loose with him in the center of the pack. That wasn't a problem for him. And we talked about how good the cars are going to handle with this track that's been rained on and it's so green. They're running it with ease out there right now, 3 wide, and that is something you normally don't see here at Daytona. That's a Talladega thing, not a Daytona thing, but we're seeing it here at Daytona.
And it's Carl Edwards and it's Brad Keselowski and Kyle Ricky, nobody giving an inch.
Still locked up side by side, a high-speed pace and parade lap like we saw just a few moments ago. This time it's going to be Carl Edwards able to clear Keselowski off 4.
We have 5 rows of double wide racing, then 3 wide racing all the way back through the rest of the lead draft. It's Carl Edwards up front at lap 5. There are some pretty big names near the front of the field after 8 laps of racing here at Daytona. Names like Carl Edwards, who leads, Brad Keselowski, who's second, Kyle Busch, who's third. But, Jeff, there's some pretty big names back at the tail end of the field as well.
Well, let's start at 28. Dale Earnhardt Jr. running there. He has been high. He has been low. He has been in the middle of the pack, just trying to find his way to the front. But when you go even further back than that, Joe, you've got Chase Elliott running back in 31st. You got Tony Stewart, 35th. A.J. Allmendinger running at the tail end of the field, 36th. Clint Boyer, Ryan Newman, Kevin Harvick, Dave Moody. That's some big names that are just kind of hanging out at the back watching all of this unfold.
Yeah, that's completely by choice at this juncture, Jeff. They've just decided, elected not to participate in the festivities until we get a little bit later on. Just riding safely in the back of the pack, waiting to see if the problems might break out.
Meanwhile, 3-car breakaway for the lead in 3.
And it's all Fords at the front of the field. Brad Keselowski out front. Greg Biffle next car in line. He's in second. Ricky Stenhouse third. Carl Edwards kicks back to fourth.
Hey, guys, you got to believe they're just kind of taking their time right now, waiting for that mandatory caution at lap 20. No need to get in a big hurry right now. Let's just log some laps. Let's see how our car's handling. That's what a lot of drivers got to be thinking right now. Look, once that caution's out of the way and they go back racing, that's a different story. But right now, in my book, let's just ride, baby, ride till we get to lap 20.
Early in the running here this evening, a total of 160 laps making up the total distance in this race. We still have 150 laps to go. Brad Keselowski at the front of the field. Jeff mentioned Kevin Harvick at the rear of the field. Alex Hayden, what's their strategy?
Well, Kevin Harvick, you mentioned him. He's simply going to hang out at the back. Dave Moody said, yeah, we're going to stay there until we avoid the potential trouble. That's exactly what Kevin Harvick is doing. They're going to wait till that competition caution at lap 20. They're going to dump some Sunoco fuel in the race car and get him back out and rely on the pit crew to gain them some track position. Now, Ryan Newman, on the other hand, he's fallen all the way to the back. Matter of fact, just in front of Kevin Harvick on the racetrack. They're simply going to stay at the back of the field until, in their words, it's time to go racing, which usually means the final 25 to 30 or so laps of this thing. So different strategies being played out here early.
8 laps until we get that competition caution. We're working lap number 12 right now at the tail end of the field. Ryan Newman and Kevin Harvick right at the bottom of the racetrack, this time by Brad Keselowski. Kyle Rickey.
The Toyotas, though, beginning to organize further down on the bottom of the racetrack, led by Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and Matt Kenseth.
Carl has that line hooked up on the inside of the racetrack. They are going after Brad Keselowski, but first they have to deal with Greg Biffle. He's now battling alongside Carl Edwards for second.
That's the battle for the number 2 position. Edwards down low in the Toyota. The pole sitter, Greg Biffle, top side in the Ford. Biffle by about 2/3 of a car length up high. Now gets a little bit of a block from Keselowski. Brad now will go to the bottom. Here comes Biffle.
Now Keselowski throws the block. He'll jump in line in front of Biffle. Keselowski's been bobbing and weaving. First outside, then inside. Back to the outside. Doing everything he can to protect his lead.
And remains at the outside of the racetrack. Never mind. Back to the bottom of the racetrack to protect the race lead, as it was Carl Edwards getting a full head of steam off of turn 4, closing in on the top spot.
It could be a Ford media photo shoot if you took it right now. 4 Fords all lined up topside here at Daytona. Brad Keselowski, Greg Biffle is there, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. You've also got Trevor Bayne and Joey Logano.
Right there at the front of the pack, though, trying to bust up that party. Carl Edwards on the inside of that second row, running in the second position right now. Right behind him, his teammate Kyle Busch. They're all chasing Brad Keselowski.
Meanwhile, they are 3 wide for the 10th position as they race up the Daytona Superstretch. Right now, that 3-wide battle between Eric Almirola, Ryan Blaney, and Casey Kane.
Casey Kane all the way up against the outside safer barrier. Ryan Blaney in the middle with limited drafting help. Only Jamie McMurray behind him. And Eric Almirola, last night's winner, on the bottom.
Yeah, Blaney right there in the middle of the racetrack. Eric Almirola under him. Blaney actually has a good run, even though he's in the middle of the racetrack. Kurt Busch to the outside. Let's follow that 3-wide battle back to turn 1.
It continues just outside the top 10. Blaney, the meat in that sandwich right now, squeezes down across the nose of Eric Almirola. Moved Blaney down into that low line. Did not like the middle. Found just enough room to change it.
Now back to double wide formation for that position as they race up the back straightaway. At the front, it's Brad Keselowski. He is in sole possession of the lead, but they're stacked up behind him from second on back.
Side by side once again. Carl Edwards trying to take that second spot away from Greg Biffle and move the inside lane forward as he has drafting help from Kyle Busch and Matt Kenseth.
I tell you what, guys, it seems to be every time we come to Daytona, it takes about 25 laps for the cars to start handling kind of poor, slipping and sliding and stuff like that. With this caution coming out at about 4 laps, I don't think we're going to see any bad handling cars right now. After this stop and they get a long run, that's when I think we're going to see these guys get shook up. But right now, what I'm seeing, what about these Fords? I mean, these guys are all stacked up, and for whatever reason, they got the right combination tonight. Those Ford engines seem to be stronger than they normally are, and they're always strong, but they're exceptionally strong right now.
Let's talk about that Ford that is out front, the Miller Lite Ford, Detroit Diesel Ford of Brad Keselowski. His spotter, Joey Meyer, right now, Joe, working overtime because Brad is at the bottom of the racetrack. Then he'll slide up across the nose of Greg Biffle, then back down across the nose of the Toyota of Carl Edwards. The eyes in the sky, Joey Meyer.
They are getting a workout tonight, and they'll tell you, probably of all the racetracks we go to at super speedways, they work the hardest trying to keep their driver up to date on what's going on, because you can't look but so many different ways at a time. An extra set of eyes comes in handy here.
And Joe, for a spotter, it's really, really tough as these cars exit turn 4 and they're coming right at them. The spotters, to tell you, that is the toughest spot on the racetrack to get it right. They can't clear their drivers right, and they're just kind of staying out of it at that point. That's a real nervous time exiting turn 4 for the spotters.
We're going to have 3 laps to go to the competition caution called by NASCAR. Here they come, racing back to the start line. Up front, you already know that, it's Brad Keselowski. Behind him, side by side, a pair of Fords there. It's Greg Biffle and his teammate, Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
It's been very interesting to watch Brad Keselowski try and dance with 2 different partners, blocking both Biffle down low and Stenhouse now up high, moving back and forth, up and down to try and shut off those runs.
Biffle had a crossover move that backfired last time through. He rumbled out of the pocket, dropped to the inside across the nose of Carl Edwards, took a run at Keselowski until Brad threw the block. Now it's Biffle and Stenhouse wheel to wheel for second.
Roush Fenway Racing teammates side by side for that second spot. A car length behind race leader Brad Keselowski, who is all by himself at the front of the field.
Just a couple of laps before that competition caution coming up at lap number 20. Let's take a quick look at the AutoZone leaderboard. Brad Keselowski out front as they cross the line again. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Greg Biffle, they're second and third. Joey Logano is fourth. Carl Edwards fifth. Then it's Austin Dillon running in sixth. Casey Mears is seventh. Kyle Busch eighth. Matt Kenseth ninth, and Ryan Blaney 10th.
11th is Trevor Bayne. Jamie McMurray is 12th. 13th, Kurt Busch. 14th, Eric Almirola. Jimmy Johnson 15th. Casey Kane 16th. Denny Hamlin right now running 17th. 18th to Paul Menard. Brian Scott 19th. Chris Buescher running 20th.
Martin Truex Jr. is 21st. David Reagan 22nd. Kyle Larson 23rd. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 24th. Matthew Benedetto runs 25th. Chase Elliott 26th. Regan Smith 27th. Michael McDowell 28th. David Gilliland 29th. And Danica Patrick 30th.
31st, Bobby Labonte. 32nd, Cole Witt. Michael Annett 33rd. Tony Stewart 34th. And A.J. Allmendinger hanging out at the back. He's 35th. Along with Clint Boyer 36th. Reed Sorensen 37th. Ryan Newman 38th. Kevin Harvick 39th, and Landon Castle has lost the lead lap. He is now running 40th.
At lap 19, that's a look at the AutoZone leaderboard. Get proven tough Duralast brakes, the official brakes of NASCAR, sold only at AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone.
We're going to see the competition caution flying here very shortly. One car in trouble. That is Landon Castle off the pace. Alex Hayden, what's the deal?
Well, they just said here in the pit area that the car keeps losing power. It shuts off, then refires, and then shuts off. It's been doing that the better part of 2 laps. It looks like it's finally shut off completely, and he's very slow on the racetrack.
Let's pick up the leaders in turn 2.
Here they come midway through the banking of turns 1 and 2. Front of the pack, it's still Brad Keselowski, Stenhouse, and Joey Logano.
4-car breakaway now at the front of the field as things begin to settle down. Keselowski again at the point with Stenhouse, Logano, and Austin Dillon. Single file, they're side by side for fifth.
And that's where we find Greg Biffle to the bottom of the racetrack. Casey Mears to his outside. In fact, they're going to stack them 3 wide for that 6th spot.
And they're going to slow them down as they come off turn number 4. Competition caution at the start-finish line. 20 laps are complete from Daytona. Back at Daytona and under the competition caution. That was expected. It came out at lap number 20 with Brad Keselowski out front over Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, and Greg Biffle. That is your top 5. And 6 through 10, Casey Mears, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, Casey Kane, and Kyle Busch. And I would imagine we're going to see, Joe, everybody coming to pit road here in just a matter of a few moments.
They'll be rolling in for the first time this evening. Again, this is a planned caution. NASCAR calls competition caution, scheduled for lap 20. And at the completion of lap 20, that's when it came out. Field's working off turn number 4, and they're headed down to pit road. This report brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Brad Keselowski, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Greg Biffle. They lead the field onto pit road. We go first to Steve Post.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the very first pit box crew around to the right side of the automobile. Going to be at least a 2-tire stop. Looks like it's going to be 4 tires for Stenhouse. Here's Austin Dillon, the back front shop Chevrolet. Crew around to the right side. Going to be right side only for Austin Dillon. 2 tires the call for Kurt Busch. But he gets boxed into his pit stall by the car in front of him. He has to back up. And a slow pit stop for Kurt Busch. Winston?
Right side tires only for Brad Keselowski. Same thing for Greg Biffle. They're going to go out 1-2, but teammate to Keselowski, Joey Logano is going to do 4. Same thing for Paul Menard. Other guys on this end of pit road, predominantly 2 tires. Eric Almirola, Trevor Bayne, Regan Smith, David Reagan opted to stay out, Casey Mears, A.J. Allmendinger, Denny Hamlin, 2 tires, and as I mentioned, Paul Menard, 4. Kyle Busch looked like a 2-tire stop there. Alex.
2 tires for Jimmy Johnson, but they made all kinds of chassis adjustments, wedge adjustments, track bar adjustments, trying to get the car to handle a little bit better in the draft in that turbulent air. Johnson said the back end of the car, too free, and it twitches out in the middle of the draft. Right side tires also for Carl Edwards. Had Ryan Blaney, Clint Boyer, everybody else electing to come to pit road here and take advantage of it. Some with 2 tires, some with 4.
A long stop for Eric Almirola. His number 43 Ford is still sitting there on pit road. Winston Kelly, what's up?
Joe, I'm going to head that way. He's the very last car I've got on this end of pit road. I was in pit stall number 4. He's in pit stall number 15. Let me head down there and find out exactly what the problem is for Eric Almirola.
All right, they were taking the right side glass out, adjusting something inside the cockpit. It's time for maintenance on your vehicle. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts during Maintain and Save days. Oil and filters, new shocks, antifreeze, or a new battery. Maintain and save at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Top 5 cars off pit road electing to take just 2 tires. Brad Keselowski off pit road number 1. Greg Biffle number 2. Austin Dillon came off pit road in position number 3, followed out by Casey Mears and Kyle Busch. Martin Truex Jr., by the way, picked up 11 spots, changed no tires, fuel only. Back under the green flag shortly from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. It's on here at Daytona. They race back to turn number 1.
Kyle Busch has got the number 1 spot. Joey Logano rides alone for the moment in second. From behind him, it's a bit of a hornet's nest. Down low, holding on to the 3rd spot is Brad Keselowski, shoving Logano down the superstretch.
Now Logano takes a peek to the outside for the lead, quickly gets back in line. So it's Logano, Keselowski, second and third, that is, side by side for 4, 3 wide for 6.
Denny Hamlin to the inside of Chase Elliott for that 4 spot. 3 wide for position number 6. Martin Truex Jr., Carl Edwards, and Eric Almirola. Jamie McMurray topside.
I'll tell you one thing I watched all night long is these tires, and these babies are holding up really, really good tonight. These Goodyears are. Martin Truex, when they had their restart, he had about 65 laps on his tires when he pitted. That's a lot of laps on the tires. They still had full performance. Tell you what, Joe and Jeff, I've been pretty impressed with that, and I predicted that about 25 laps into the race, they would start slipping and sliding, but you know what? I was wrong. They haven't been. They've been hooked up, and maybe it's the cooler temperatures, maybe it's the rain we've had with this green track, but right now it's not green any longer. And the Goodyears are really getting it done tonight.
And Joey Logano is getting it done. He's gone to the point now, making the pass by Kyle Busch. Kyle has been shuffled back. It's Joey Logano showing the way. Front 7 cars, nose to tail coming back down to the line. Second is Kyle. Third is Denny Hamlin. Fourth, Chase Elliott. Fifth is Carl Edwards. And further back, Dave Moody again. 3 wide.
3 wide, back around the 8th or 10th position. That's going to break up fairly quickly here as they'll get back to the double file formation. It continues to be Logano, then side by side for second, Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin.
Hamlin comes flying around the outside of turn number 2. Denny Hamlin is back in the mix here at Daytona. He'll grab sole possession of second. Crossover move. Denny to the bottom of the racetrack for the lead in 3.
A great push into turn 3 by his teammate Carl Edwards moves Denny Hamlin to the front of the field. Kyle Busch is up to second. The inside lane continues to advance with Keselowski to third.
Back and forth they go from front to back, from back to front. Out front at the stripe, the winner of the Daytona 500, Denny Hamlin. We're closing in on the halfway point, 77 down, 83 to go. It's Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, and Carl Edwards. The Motor Racing Network's going to give you your chance to talk to one-on-one with Tony Stewart this Tuesday at 2:30 Eastern. Tony will be taking your calls and questions for the evening's NASCAR Live. You can call in at 1-800-2NASCAR, 1-800-2NASCAR, or tweet your question using the hashtag AskMRN. That's this Tuesday at 2:30 Eastern, only on the Motor Racing Network. Back at Daytona, one thing we want to get you caught up on, Danica Patrick penalized by NASCAR. When she came to pit road, she drove through too many pit boxes. She had a pass-through penalty, and now she is back in the 37th position. As Denny Hamlin leads, we are now one lap, Joe, past halfway.
So let's take a look at the AutoZone leaderboard. Denny Hamlin, the race leader right now, with Kyle Busch running in second, Eric Almirola third, Brad Keselowski fourth, and Joey Logano fifth. 6th is Kurt Busch. 7th, Carl Edwards. 8th is Casey Mears. 9th, Jamie McMurray, and Jimmy Johnson is 10th.
As they cross the stripe, everything changes. 11th right now, Kyle Larson. Martin Truex Jr., 12th now. Paul Menard, 13th. Chase Elliott, 14th. Ryan Blaney, 15th. Brian Scott running 16th. 17th, Casey Kane. 18th to Regan Smith. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 19th. And Matt DiBenedetto running in the 20th position.
Kevin Harvick is 21st. Ryan Newman, 22nd. David Gilliland is in 23rd. Trevor Bayne, 24th. And A.J. Allmendinger, 25th. David Reagan's in 26th. Matt Kenseth, 27th. Greg Biffle, 28th. Chris Buescher, 29th. And Austin Dillon runs 30th.
The rest of these drivers hanging out at the tail end of the field. 31st, Cole Witt. Clint Boyer, 32nd. Michael Annett, 33rd. Tony Stewart, 34th. 35th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 36th. That would be Michael McDowell. Then Danica Patrick, 37th. Reed Sorensen, 38th. Bobby Labonte, 39th, and Landon Castle is 40th.
That's a look at the AutoZone leaderboard. Get proven tough Duralast brakes, the official brakes of NASCAR, sold only at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Kyle Rickey, maybe one of the best races we have seen here since we dropped the green flag. They have been shuffling it up front, at the tail end of the field. Doesn't matter even what lap it is.
A lot of 2 and 3 wide racing the last several times through turns 3 and 4, but one thing remains consistent. That's Brad Keselowski at the front of the field, leads them back to the start-finish line.
He's led a total of 54 laps already this evening, make it 55 as Brad is up front yet again. Side by side now for second, it's Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano.
Hamlin on the inside, Logano on the outside, then down low, Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch nose to nose in the 4th and 5th position. They're 2 wide from second on back, but at the front, it's still Brad Keselowski.
Leaders race off turn 2 and on to the Daytona Superstretch. Keselowski free and clear with the lead, but it is stacked up behind him. Hamlin to the inside of Logano, and from there on back, 2 and 3 wide.
Yeah, that's the battle for second behind them. The battle for 4th, Kyle Busch to the inside of his brother Kurt. They're side by side, and then it's Casey Mears, and then 3 wide racing from 8th on back.
Racing back to the start-finish line, it is Brad Keselowski going with the race lead behind him side by side. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. Of course, Denny went to victory lane by a matter of 11 inches over Martin Truex Jr. In fact, why don't we check in and see what's going on with Denny Hamlin, a member of the Coca-Cola racing family. Let's check on Denny right now with Winston Kelly.
Well, when he came in on that competition caution lap 22, just a little bit tied off. They made a wedge adjustment, only 2 tires. The last time they came in, lap 66, a little bit tight, less so they made some progress on it. Slight air pressure and wedge adjustment, 4 tires. But the thing that's most impressive, you remember it wasn't that many laps ago that we talked about Denny Hamlin dropping to the back of the pack. And while he gained some positions on pit road, the fact that he was able to drive up through the field shows that he's got another very strong Toyota Camry here this evening. Not the same one, of course, that he drove to victory lane because it's in the museum here next door in what was Daytona, USA. So Denny Hamlin, a very strong race car. He's going to be one to reckon with before the night's over.
This report on Denny Hamlin, who right now is running second behind Brad Keselowski, is brought to you by Coca-Cola and the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Enjoy tonight's race with an ice cold Coke, the official soft drink of NASCAR.
Field has caught Danica Patrick and are blowing by her. Remember, she had a penalty for going through too many boxes when she came to pit road. She was trying to stay out front, but the pack has caught her and swallowed her up, and now she is a lap down. Brad Keselowski leads with 73 laps to go. Brad Keselowski still out front here at Daytona. He won at Talladega earlier this year. Denny Hamlin won here the February race, the Daytona 500. They are 1 and 2. Brad and Denny, followed by Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Busch. 72 to go from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. Things were going so smoothly here at Daytona in the Coke 0400, but all of that came to a screeching halt in turn 2, Dave Moody.
Joe, I have no idea what started it. They were 3 wide, racing inches apart, and something went horribly wrong. And about half of this field has now been torn to bits down on the apron of turns 1 and 2. What's left of Kevin Harvick's car? There's not much left of Kevin Harvick's car. Comes limping past us, spewing oil and smoke out of the back end. Jimmy Johnson's car has ended up just about 100 yards to our left. It is done for the night. Jamie McMurray's machine still remains on the apron. The Matt Kenseth machine is all torn apart. Too many cars to count in this one. Half the field torn apart in turns 1 and 2.
All right, before we break down what we think unfolded, let's give you who we have written down, and it's a bunch. Jimmy Johnson, Jamie McMurray, Kevin Harvick, all of these cars involved. Chase Elliott, Matt Kenseth, Martin Truex Jr., Ryan Newman, Eric Almirola, Paul Menard, Brian Scott, Matt DiBenedetto, Regan Smith, Michael Annett, David Reagan, if I didn't cover David, and David Gilliland. And Joe, you probably have another 2 or 3 that I didn't mention. In other words, a lot of cars over in turn 1 and 2 involved.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. also got a little bit of the action. We don't know exactly how much damage to each of the cars. We'll follow up on that in a few moments. But Rusty Wallace, you've been watching the replay on the Sprint Vision screen. What do you see that happened there?
Yeah, it appears to me what happened was Jimmy Johnson was coming down the front straightaway, entering turn 1, and it opened up. There was enough room for him to get in underneath Jamie McMurray, and that gap, as Jimmy got to it, just wasn't wide enough. He got in the back of Jamie McMurray, turned him loose. Jamie got out of the throttle. Jimmy just could not slow down, and he got in the back of McMurray, put McMurray head on into the wall. That caused a big problem. But one big surprise we've been talking about all day long is Kevin Harvick hanging out at the back of the pack to avoid the big wreck, and he is involved in it, Joe.
Yep. Sometimes it doesn't pay off. Of course, he wasn't at the back of the pack when that broke out. And again, looking at the replay, it looks like McMurray actually came across the track into Ryan Blaney, glanced off him. That's when the other car, Jimmy Johnson, crashed into the back of the one of Jamie McMurray. At least 13 cars involved.
Brian Scott up on top of Kevin Harvick's car during that crash, rode that car for what appeared to be about 100 yards before Brian Scott's car came off the top of the Chevrolet driven by Kevin Harvick. We'll take a break. We'll come back. A lot of cars headed to the garage, some drivers headed to the care center. From what we understand, everybody was able to climb out. So Kim Kuhn is headed to the care center. Postman is headed to the garage. Dave Moody trying to recap it all for you. We'll do that when we come back. 19 cars involved in a crash back on lap number 90. We have been under the caution flag now for 7 laps. We're waiting to hear from Jamie McMurray. He has just come from the Florida Hospital Care Center, and we'll catch up with him in just a moment. Again, 19 cars involved, at least 11 of those cars out of the race or in the garage, and certainly with no chance at all of going to victory lane.
Yeah, a lot of good cars right here past the halfway point of the race, getting into it. And Rusty Wallace, this goes back to what we talked about earlier with the varying strategies of, do you stay up front? Do you go to the rear of the field? No place is safe. And Kevin Harvick is living proof of that.
Oh, absolutely, Joe. I mean, I can tell you one thing. I have wrecked in the front at Daytona, in the middle, and in the back. I know you try to go to the back and stay out of the big one if it happens, but you can get in one of these things if you're anywhere in the racetrack. There's no doubt about that. A lot of guys want to play it safe by staying in the back. A lot of them get embarrassed by doing that. They want to get to the front and lead and look good, and that's the way I'd want to do it. I'll tell you that.
Let's go back to the Florida Hospital Care Center.
Jamie McMurray out of the Care Center. Jamie, a wild ride you went for. Glad you're okay. What happened? Describe the racing out there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what happened. I got to see one replay, and it was really quick while I was talking on TV, so I really don't know what happened. At some point in that wreck, I believe that my left rear tire might have gotten cut down, because typically when you get into a crash like that, you let off the gas, you can catch the car, and I just felt like I was in oil the whole time and didn't have any control. So I'm assuming that it must have cut down the left rear tire, and then we were running like 5th or 6th, and so you end up collecting half the field.
Lap 90, still 70 to go. Were you surprised to see a wreck that big that early?
No, I was discussing with Jimmy just now that the whole race you wreck, and you just sometimes it doesn't result in anything that TV shows, or a large wreck. There's lots of close calls out there when you're running that fast, and everyone's trying to work the middle because that seemed to be the best lane, and sometimes it doesn't work out.
There you go, Jamie McMurray.
All right, Kim, thank you very much. Pit road now open, and here they come. Steve Post is back from the garage. Steve?
Yeah, Kyle Larson brings his Chevrolet in. Crew around to the right side. Going to make an adjustment there. Here's Austin Dillon with his car in. Going to be a 2-tire stop for Austin Dillon. Now around to the left side. Going to be 4 tires there. They're working on something on the right side of the car, inside the car as well. There goes Kurt Busch after his pit stop. Winston?
4 tires for Kyle Busch. Same thing for teammate Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano. Hamlin's going to get out side by side with Logano. We're going to have to check the monitor. Look like Hamlin may have gotten out first. Brad Keselowski with 4 tires and fuel. Same thing for Casey Kane on this end of pit road to Alex.
Yeah, only 3 race cars, believe it or not. It's all I got left in my pit section after that crash. We had Clint Boyer, also Ryan Blaney, and Carl Edwards on the pit lane. 4 tires for all of them. Sunoco fuel, maybe a chassis adjustment or 2 up on Clint Boyer's car. Difficult to see past the other machines, but here on lap 99, that's the story.
Joey Logano and his team busting off a stop. They come off of pit road number 1. Denny Hamlin number 2. Brad Keselowski 3. Followed out by Kyle Busch and Kurt Busch. That's the top 5 drivers off pit road, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't miss the 4-day sale now through July 4th at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Find sale prices on things your car needs every day. Items like appearance and performance things, including sale prices on oil and oil filters. Now through the 4th of July at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Cleanup continues here at Daytona International Speedway after a 19-car crash between turns 1 and 2. Shouldn't be too much longer before we get back underway and run these final 60 laps. Time now for another MRN fan vote. Who is most likely to get their first ever restrictor plate win tonight? Will it be Kurt Busch, Austin Dillon, Carl Edwards, or Casey Kane? Go to mrn.com/vote. or touch the microphone on the MRN app. Get your vote in right now.
Number of other cars beginning to come back onto pit road, including Tony Stewart as Joey Logano crosses the line. So Joey Logano is going to be number 1. We go back under the green flag. Denny Hamlin number 2. Joe, 100 laps in, 60 to go here at Daytona. Everybody trying to race for a chance to get to Homestead Miami Speedway.
That's where it all comes down for championship weekend, coming up the weekend of November the 20th. And we were talking earlier with Dennis Bickmeyer from Richmond, and of course is where the regular season winds down and the chase begins at Chicagoland the very next week. And then we go to Homestead Miami Speedway, where we determine a championship in all 3 of the series. And Matt Beecher is with us here to talk about that. You guys prepare for that, I'm sure, all year round because it's such a big event.
We really do, Joe. I mean, honestly, we're already starting to prepare for 2017 right now. I mean, that's how far ahead we work. It's a huge event for us, something we're very proud of. And this year takes on an extra special twist. Now we've taken that championship format and changed it in the Ford EcoBoost 200 and Ford EcoBoost 300 on Friday and Saturday night.
You guys sold out last year, so this is something that race fans need to jump on right now and get their tickets.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Joe, we've actually sold out 2 years in a row, and we're on our way to a third. So fans do need to get after it if they want to come down. It's the weekend before Thanksgiving. Great time to be in South Florida, November 18th through the 20th. Lots to do down there. A lot of fans come down, take a 4-day week, and spend the entire 10-day vacation along with their holiday. It's great.
How do we buy tickets?
Well, 866-409-RACE, or, of course, HomesteadMiamiSpeedway.com. We're on all the social platforms as well, but really HomesteadMiamiSpeedway.com is your best place to get all the information.
November 18th through the 20th, we will see you at Homestead Miami Speedway. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Joe.
Matt Beecher with us from Homestead Miami Speedway, where it all comes down this year, Ford Championship weekend. But first, we have to finish here at Daytona. We have 59 to go.
And getting ready to put them back under the green flag, it is Team Penske and Joe Gibbs Racing up front. Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, row 1, Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch, row 2, then Carl Edwards and Kurt Busch in row number 3. The green flag back in the air. The race is on. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin at the front of the field.
2 by 2 as they hit the banking in turn number 1. Everybody's spaced out and stepping lively, a little bit cautious this time, and who can blame them after what happened last time through that corner? They're side by side for the lead. Logano down low, Denny Hamlin up high.
That is the way they race off turn number 2. Logano gets a fender out in front. Here comes Hamlin. He'll rally back on the outside. Hamlin has company at the back door with teammate Kyle Busch, while Logano has company from his teammate Brad Keselowski.
All Team Penske to the inside of the racetrack, led by Joey Logano with help from Brad Keselowski. Top side is Joe Gibbs Racing, led by Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch.
Hamlin gets a real good run coming off turn number 4, gets a bit of an advantage, but Logano draws even, and as a matter of fact, pulls out in front. Logano leads that lap, but Denny's still there with him, and right behind him, Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch.
Logano in the outside lane by a fender into turn number 1, but Joey Logano is right there with him. Logano down in the bottom of the racetrack, trying to squeeze his way under Hamlin. They're still nose to nose.
Meanwhile, they're looking 3 wide for 10th. Kyle Larson goes darting to the outside of the racetrack, trying to squeeze his way through. They'll funnel back to double wide formation. That's the way they race up front for the lead here in Daytona.
No change at the front of the field, this time into turn number 3. Still Joey Logano to the inside of Denny Hamlin for the race lead. And the side-by-side race for third behind him between Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch.
5 Fords and a Chevrolet on the bottom of the racetrack. Toyotas at the top side of the racetrack. Those Toyotas are teammates. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards all running topside on the racetrack.
Trying to make it work upstairs at the penthouse level, but so far, Joey Logano's got the bottom of the racetrack and the lead. By 2 car lengths, he shows the way in the Shell Pennzoil Ford, side by side, Keselowski and Hamlin for second.
Logano brings his Ford to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll ride that double yellow line at the extreme bottom side of this racetrack. Although here comes Keselowski, up behind Logano, up alongside Logano for the lead.
Side by side for the top spot. Logano drifts up to the racetrack, nearly gets into Keselowski, who pulls up alongside. Still locked up side by side for the top spot.
Teammates doing battle here side by side, fighting for the lead. Logano down on the inside. He gets the advantage over Keselowski, who has the outside lane covered. Then it's Kurt Busch and Denny Hamlin racing side by side for third.
Keselowski puts the nose out into the clean air at the front of the pack, but back comes Joey on the bottom of the racetrack. Side by side, tremendous racing between the 2 teammates. Logano down low, Keselowski up high.
Meanwhile, behind Logano, here comes Kurt Busch. He'll race his way into this mix for the lead. While to Kurt's outside, here comes Denny Hamlin. Up front, it's Keselowski breaking out in sole possession of the lead.
By about a car length and a half over the race side by side for second. Joey Logano to the inside of Denny Hamlin. Again, here comes that inside lane trying to build some momentum. Logano unable to get up alongside.
I think there was a lot of people a lap ago wondering why Brad Keselowski jumped out from behind the 22 car, his teammate Joey Logano. But Joe, he had such a big run coming at the back of Logano. He had to get out of the throttle, or change lanes and go for it, and that's what he did. And I'm afraid he had such a big run. If he would have not changed lanes, there might have been a wreck.
You've got somebody else to worry about now as they head to turn 3.
That is Denny Hamlin now. He leads the inside line, but it's Keselowski with the advantage up top. It's Denny to the inside of Kyle Busch. Kyle with the advantage in the battle for second.
Kyle Busch, second car in that outside lane. Denny Hamlin leads the bottom, pulls up alongside. Behind them, they're side by side for fifth. Joey Logano to the inside of Carl Edwards.
Here they come once again, working back off turn number 4 and back to the stripe. Now 54 laps remain. Brad Keselowski over 3 Toyotas now. Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, then Carl Edwards. Then comes Brad's teammate, Joey Logano. That is your top 5. Let's head to the garage for an update on Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex Jr. just brought his car to the garage, so he completed a few laps, and I am telling you, I wish I had the amount of duct tape or the concession for the duct tape on this race car. Really, from the number back on both sides, the car is just all duct tape and all beaten and battered. Routed in, crew members working up under the rear end of the car on the suspension pieces. Martin sits aboard the car, window net down, but a lot of activity on that car. Also working on the front of the car. What's interesting is 2 pit boxes or garage stalls to his toward one direction is Chase Elliott's team. They're putting a whole brand new nose on the car. 2 garage stalls the next direction, putting a whole new nose on Matt Kence's car as well. So a lot of activity down here in the garage area, and I sincerely believe that a lot of these teams are working to get these cars so that they can get them back on the racetrack, planning for chase crisis damage a little bit later on this season, and I'm sure that's what's going on with all these teams down here.
Martin Truex, who almost won the Daytona 500 earlier this year, one of 12 cars taken out by a crash back at lap 90. NASCAR asks you to join in celebrating the stars that protect our stripes by making your salute at NASCAR.com/salute or by tweeting or posting a personal salute using hashtag NASCAR Salutes today.
About to get down to it. 26 laps to go when we put them back under the green flag.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, Jeff. And as you've discussed, Brad Keselowski has had his way with the field through much of the evening. But I got to tell you, the Busch brothers haven't been far off either. And if you're looking for a dark horse, look no further, Mike Bagley, than the outside of row 2. The Geico Military Chevrolet. Casey Mears is in the hunt again tonight.
Every time we race at Daytona and Talladega, we always talk about how Casey Mears finds his way into the mix. And he is there with 20-plus laps to go here in Daytona. Lots of racing left to go, and the intensity and the aggressiveness is about to go up a notch or 10 as we get down to the final portion of this race. And Kyle, when they race past me at the end of the Daytona Super Stretch, it really gets busy there as they race back up into the banking of turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, we'll expect them for 2 and 3 wide. I don't think that single file racing that we saw a few laps ago, we're going to see here between now and the finish. And there's a lot of drivers right now among the top 10 looking for their first win of the year, looking to make the chase. You mentioned Casey Mears a moment ago. You have Ricky Stenhouse Jr. up there, David Reagan for BK Racing, and also Kyle Larson for Chip Ganassi Racing, all looking for that important win here tonight.
And how about the driver currently in the 5th spot as we get ready to go to green, Rusty?
Yeah, we're talking about Tony Stewart, last week's winner. This guy's ready to go. He's got the momentum, and he's won the 400 before. Watch Tony Stewart.
American Ethanol green flag waving again here at Daytona. At the start-finish line, Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski, Casey Mears and Kurt Busch, Austin Dillon, Tony Stewart. The race is on, headed back to turn number 1.
Nobody able to get the advantage at the drop of the green flag. They'll be side by side into the banking of turn number 1. Kyle Busch, bottom of the racetrack. Brad Keselowski, top side. Then Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, inside and out in row number 2 to the Daytona Super Stretch.
Meanwhile, they are 3 wide from 7th on back. Carl Edwards on the bottom of the racetrack trying to get some help going there. Up front, Kyle Busch starts to the bottom, trying to get the advantage over Keselowski. Can't do it. They're still wheel to wheel for the lead.
They're locked up side by side for the lead. Busch to the inside of Keselowski. Behind them, it's going to be Kurt Busch making the pass on Casey Mears on the inside as the inside lane begins to advance.
Keselowski has the outside lane covered. Underneath him is Kyle Busch. Kyle gets the advantage at the line by just a couple of inches, but they're still going at it side by side for the lead.
Nobody able to seize control of this one. They continue side by side, inches apart into turns 1 and 2. Down low, it's Kyle Busch. Top side, Brad Keselowski. Then Kurt Busch and Casey Mears. Third lane, busts into the top 10, led by David Reagan.
David Reagan all the way on the outside. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in the middle. Now it's Tony Stewart downstairs as everybody starts to get a little dicey now at this point of the race.
That extreme outside lane came to life for just a moment, led by David Reagan. Kyle Larson is up there, as is Denny Hamlin. At the front, though, still locked up side by side.
That is Kyle Busch. That is Brad Keselowski racing hard right behind him, but at the stripe, virtual dead heat between the Toyota and the Ford. We are down to the final 24 laps. They're back in turn one.
The intensity meter beginning to creep upward right now. That 3-wide lane has made its way all the way to a battle for 7th. David Reagan leading the way. Kyle Larson up there. Denny Hamlin there as well with Dale Jr.
Double wide and 3 wide racing up the Daytona Superstretch as they begin to close in on the lap car of Danica Patrick. She is riding on the inside of the racetrack. She's got to move because here comes the pack.
And they're all side by side and 3 wide. Kyle Busch at the front of the field, side by side with Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Casey Mears all bearing down on Patrick.
2 by 2, the front 3, 4 rows, then 3 wide once again, break it out in the middle of the pack. Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards working on the inside of the track there while the battle for the lead continues in turn one.
One more time, all the way around, side by side. Kurt Busch on the bottom, Brad Keselowski on the top. Then Kurt and Casey Mears, no change at the front of the pack.
Keselowski swinging wide off the corner, trying to get a bit of an advantage, but Kyle Busch solid down low. Here's Keselowski. He'll crowd Kyle to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll dart up top, grab the lead for a moment, but Kyle will charge back to the bottom in 3.
And he'll have that lead by a half a car length now. As I say that, here comes Brad Keselowski in the outside lane with drafting help from Casey Mears. He goes back to the front.
While all of this is going on, you just cannot overlook the performance tonight by Casey Mears. He will cross the stripe in 4th. He's got Kurt Busch to his outside. He'll follow in the tire tracks of Brad Keselowski.
What a night this would be for Casey Mears and Germain Racing to claim a victory and advance themselves into the 2016 chase. But it's not a done deal yet. He is 4th. He is 2nd on the outside, trailing Brad Keselowski.
Meanwhile, the battle for 6th is shaping up. Trevor Bayne now will lead the outside line in that 3-wide battle. Things back to double wide formation in that spot while Keselowski takes sole possession of the lead.
Now, the outside lane will advance. That'll move Casey Mears up to 2nd. Kyle Busch, first car on the bottom, is back to the 3rd spot in a side-by-side race with Austin Dillon.
And Kyle, the number 13 car, Casey Mears, no surprise to me. That thing has got the Richard Childress engines under the hood, and we all know that on restrictor plates, those engines are incredible, and it's really got that 13 car running tonight.
Field is charging back into turn one. Again, Brad Keselowski showing the way, trying to break away.
Kyle Busch tried to fight back on that inside lane. He was back to the 3rd spot. He wheels it to the inside of Mears for 2nd.
Casey Mears, the stubborn foe for Kyle Busch in the outside line. Kyle dives up there, tries to side draft off of him. No success. They're still stacked up for 2nd.
And Brad Keselowski remains all by himself at the front of the field. Kyle Busch to the inside of Casey Mears. Kurt Busch to the inside of Austin Dillon. That's the race for 4th.
This racetrack is approximately 5 lanes wide. Think of a highway 5 lanes wide. Brad Keselowski, that is using all 5 lanes from the bottom, trying to block Kyle, then all the way up across to block the outside lane. He can't block them all, Dave Moody, and here comes Kyle.
Kyle Busch has regained the 2nd spot, and now he wants the catbird seat to the inside of Keselowski, who goes way wide and gets a great run off the top of 2.
Keselowski with the run. He'll take the lead back off 2 up the Daytona Superstretch. Kyle Busch charging back to the bottom. Now it's Kyle with the fender out in front. Seesaw battle for the lead in 3.
And it's the inside lane with the momentum this time through turns 3 and 4, led by Kyle Busch with drafting help from Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Carl Edwards.
We are down to the final 19 laps. At the front of the field, it is Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. We raced a lap and nothing changed. It continues to be Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski going at it for the race lead. 17 to go from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. Make it 16 laps remain. We're getting closer to the final lap of the race. The last lap is the Credit One Bank, 1 to go. Credit One Bank is the official credit card of NASCAR. Apply at creditonebank.com.
Boy, this battle just will not end between Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. Kyle's doing everything humanly possible and then some to try to get by. Brad's blocking him, and they're pretty well evenly matched, Rusty Wallace.
Oh, you can tell they're driving each other crazy right now. Keselowski in his mind's thinking, I've been dominating this thing. I got the best car, but now I got Kyle Busch up here with me, and Kyle's going, get out of my way. I got the best car. So they're fighting back and forth to who's going to be number one. But I'll tell you one thing, I think they're running way too close to get out of this thing clean. Dave Moody, last time they come past me, they were door to door, bumper to bumper. They're looking a little too tight to me.
That's been just the way it is, Rusty. A couple of heavyweights throwing haymakers at each other. Keselowski leads now. Kyle drops onto the back bumper, followed by Kurt in third.
Now they're side by side for fourth. Tony Stewart has entered the fray. Tony is third and make that fourth in line on the bottom of the racetrack, racing with Casey Mears for that spot.
Casey Mears, the first car in the outside lane, drafting help from Carl Edwards, Austin Dillon, and Kyle Larson. But that outside lane not advancing right now as they fade from the top five.
Here they come back up off turn number 4. Brad Keselowski at the front of the field with Kyle Busch, Kurt Busch, second and third. Then it's Tony Stewart in fourth. Fifth is Joey Logano. The rest of the front 10 are Casey Mears, Carl Edwards, David Reagan, Austin Dillon, and Ryan Blaney.
Side-by-side battle now is for the number 4 position. Joey Logano squeezes to the inside of Tony Stewart. They'll go side-by-side.
Now the front 3 will dart up in line in front of Tony Stewart. Got to create a larger draft for that outside line. Logano paces the inside line, and now the shuffle's on for second. Kurt to the outside of Kyle. The Busch brothers for second.
Kurt Busch up alongside Kyle Busch for the second spot, and a car length behind race leader Brad Keselowski, who's trying to block them both off turn 4.
Yeah, it's one thing to block one of the Busch boys, but something entirely different to try to hold them both at bay. Kyle Busch on the inside, Kurt Busch on the outside. They chase Brad Keselowski. He's the race leader with 13 to go.
They continue to show the way. Does Keselowski into turn number 1. Kyle on the bottom, Kurt up high. They battle for second and third. Then it's Joey Logano and Tony Stewart in row 3.
Tony Stewart, the second car in line behind Kurt. Now he's the third. As Keselowski was racing at the bottom, he'll jump to the outside, throw the block there. Still side by side for second, 3 wide, further back.
About a car length and a half behind race leader Brad Keselowski, 3 wide just outside of the top 10. Denny Hamlin to the inside of Trevor Bayne with Austin Dillon all the way up alongside the outside safer wall.
12 laps to go as they come back to the line here at the World Center of Racing. Up there in the thick of things is Tony Stewart, who won last week. He's in 5th right now, and he's inside the top 30 by only 6 points, but he's probably thinking
Tony Stewart spins. He gets pushed 3 wide. He's into the outside retaining wall. He gets collected by Casey Mears. Austin Dillon gets a piece of it as well. No sooner did we mention Tony Stewart, something went wrong. Might have had a right rear tire issue, might have gotten a bump from behind. He shot up the track and spun sideways into the outside wall. He continues to coast along the safer barrier, all torn up on the back straightaway.
Well, so much for being inside the top 30. And I think Tony's words last week after winning at Sonoma, at the time he was 9 points out of the top 30. And he says, you know, at Daytona, I could come out of there at 39 outside the top 30. It's not going to be quite that bad, but it's not going to happen tonight.
No, he wanted to gain a lot of points tonight. There's no doubt about that. And he was running so strong that he could have won this race. There is no doubt about that. But look, it's early. He's got time left to get in the top 30. Don't get all nervous. I wouldn't. His fans, this guy can still get it done. He's got enough races left to get in the top 30 and be in the chase for the championship.
He crossed the line last lap running in the 5th position. Crashed in turn number 1, comes to a halt in turn number 3. We're down to the final 10 laps here at Daytona. Welcome back to Daytona. 10 laps to go. The caution flag only for the 4th time at the start-finish line. Pit road is open. This could decide who goes to Gatorade Victory Lane and who does not. We were watching Tony Stewart. That car just broke loose all by itself. We'll talk more about Tony here in just a minute. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and David Reagan. Now that is your top 5, but Steve Post, all of those drivers stayed on the racetrack.
Yes, indeed they did. Most of the cars at the front of the field stayed on the racetrack. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., he had fallen back. He's into the attention of the crew. They're going to do right side tires on his 4. Or no, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. down there getting right side tires on his wounded car. We've got Austin Dillon in as well getting right side tires, but most of the lead cars stayed on the racetrack. Winston, anyone pitting in front of you?
The Smithfield Ford of Eric Almirola, he came in, got right side tires only. Going to return to the racetrack. Also, Casey Mears, just behind Tony Stewart, he's got some damage. He came down before pit road was open, and it looks like the Wood Brothers car is in front of Alex.
Ryan Blaney, that is, driving that red and white and gold machine. The right front fender's been peeled back for a second time. The first time it happened on pit road on the last pit stop. They got a piece of this crash out there, but they're going to try to put that back together. Also, Ryan Newman, he's been a pinball tonight in 2 or 3 different instances. His car's torn all the way up. He's got some more damage on it this time.
Top 8 cars stayed on the racetrack, and we've got to give a shout-out to David Reagan right now running in position number 5. What a run tonight for David it has been, and also for Michael McDowell, who is running in the 8th position, and Clint Boyer is inside the top 10. Clint right now running in the 9th spot. We'll set it up for you. The final 9 laps when we come back from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Hi, my name is Jason McKay. I'm the second gas man for Ricky Stenhouse, Team 17. I was a captain in the United States Army, graduate of West Point. Currently work in the engineering department at Roush. Thanks to all the men and women currently deployed away from their families. I can relate. And shout out to all my guys at 101st, First Strike.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. right now one spot outside of the top 10. He's running 11th. It's Brad, Kyle, and Joey, top three. Hard to even know for sure until we hear from Tony Stewart just exactly what happened to Tony's car that put us under the caution flag only for the fourth time now with 8 laps to go.
All right, time now for another MRN fan vote. Who do you think will win tonight? Will it be Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, or David Reagan? Go to mrn.com/vote or go to the MRN app and touch the microphone there. Again, the question, who do you think will win? Will it be Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, or David Reagan? Still cleaning up here at the World Center of Racing. Should be back at it, but we're running out of laps. Right now, 8 to go. This is going to be a wild shootout to the finish. Brad Keselowski leads Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, and David Reagan. And from Daytona International Speedway, this is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. We are getting the 1 to go signal here at the World Center of Racing. 1 to go to get back under green. That'll give us 6 laps to the finish in the Coke Zero 400. A wild night of racing with one car dominant all evening. Brad Keselowski, he's led a total of 107 of the 153 laps we have run here so far tonight. Kyle Busch has tried everything in the world to get by. Joey Logano's been strong. There's Kurt Busch and names like David Reagan and Michael McDowell inside the top 10 right now. Rusty, what do you think's going to happen here in these final laps?
Well, number one, I'm going to put my helmet on right now because I'm starting to get a little nervous about what's going to happen, because with 7 laps to go, you know they're going to do some crazy moves out there to try to win this race. But I mean, Keselowski dominating this thing all day long with his teammate in third right now. He's got some help right there. But like I mentioned earlier, you got Kyle Busch in second with his brother, Kurt Busch, right behind him on this restart. So this could be anybody's game. I don't know what's going to happen because we've got too many cars that have been running the same speed. And quite honestly, Joe and Jeff, they're all good right now.
24 cars on the lead lap at the top of the broadcast. We said very clearly, you've got to be around at the end. If you are, you've got a 1 and now 24 chance of winning. Anybody can go to victory lane. 6 to go, and this is how they will come back to the American Ethanol green flag. Row 1, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch. Row 2, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch. Row 3, David Reagan and Denny Hamlin. Row 4, Kyle Larson and Michael McDowell. Row number 5, Clint Boyer and A.J. Allmendinger.
Also on the lead lap, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He'll restart in 11th. David Gilliland in 12th. Trevor Bayne 13th. Greg Biffle lines up 14th. Cole Witt in 15th. Eric Almirola 16th. Then it's Ryan Newman, Austin Dillon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and Michael Annett, the rest of the front 20.
Strap in, going to get wild. American Ethanol green flag back in the air. Brad Keselowski on the bottom of the racetrack, drafting help. In fact, pushing him. His teammate, Joey Logano, as they try to get away from Kyle Busch.
Nobody he'd rather see in the rear view than Joey Logano, but Joey may have given him a little too much of a push. Keselowski jumps away, but there's room now for Kyle Busch to slide in between them. He'll do exactly that. Keselowski to the lead. Kyle to second. 3 wide for third with Logano on the bottom.
Oh, the contrails of Speedy dry off. Denny Hamlin as he comes barreling off the top of turn number 2. Up the middle comes Kurt Busch to the outside of Kyle. Kurt and Kyle for second and 3.
A big run of momentum for Kurt Busch, but not a lot of drafting help. It's about 3 car lengths back to Michael McDowell. They're 3 wide just inside of the top 10 with A.J. Allmendinger in the middle, and he gets into the outside wall off turn 4.
Couple of cars bouncing off the wall. Ryan Blaney down to the inside. As they come back to the line, the yellow flag will fly once again here this evening. Again, trouble off turn 4, Kyle Rickey.
Looked like Carl Edwards became collected. It was A.J. Allmendinger in a 3-wide battle off of turn number 4, and there was a car to his inside that moved up the racetrack, hooked him into the outside wall. Talking about A.J. Allmendinger, and they stacked up behind him. Carl Edwards, it looks like, has some damage. Maybe a couple of other cars bounced off of the outside wall as they came together off the corner.
So Carl Edwards bringing out the caution flag only for the 5th time, final 4 laps. But again, we're under caution at Daytona. We're slowed only for the 5th time here tonight. We're down to the final 3 laps. Let's go back, though, and revisit Tony Stewart. He won a week ago at Sonoma, in position to perhaps do it again tonight, Kim Kuhn, but that won't happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tony involved in a late race incident out of the infield care center, which is good news. Tony, tell us what happened.
I just got loose going into one, and when I corrected to the right, I caught it too far and overcorrected and then drove it in the wall. So apologize to the guys I screwed up behind me that got caught up in it, but definitely wasn't what we wanted for sure. But we were at least in a position to have a decent run at the end.
There you have it. That's Tony Stewart. Thanks, Tony.
Telling it like it is, Tony Stewart, who just came out of the Florida Hospital Care Center. Again, we're under caution. Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano, and Michael McDowell now into the top 5 from Daytona International Speedway. This is the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR. We continue to work under the caution flag. Now 3 laps to go. Brad and Kurt, Kyle Busch, Joey Logano. How about Michael McDowell right now running in the 5th position? Kyle Larson 6th, David Reagan 7th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Clint Boyer, and how about this? Cole Witt inside the top 10 now as he runs in the 10th position. Mike Bagley, there's a very good possibility that overtime line is going to come into play, or could come into play. Once we take the green flag with 2 to go, once they cross that line on the back straightaway, we make this race official. If we crash before we get there, we'll re-rack them. That overtime line, pretty much at your feet.
Yeah, it's about midway down the back straightaway. There's a caution light that right now is illuminated for this caution purpose. NASCAR also has cameras fixated on that line, and that is a blue line on the safer barrier with a white line across the racetrack. When the leader's front bumper crosses the plane of that overtime line and a crash happens after that, the caution comes out, and then we're done. But as you mentioned, before we get to that line, if we crash, we re-rack them, and we do it as many times as we have to. But we'll have our eyes affixed on that overtime line when this green flag flies.
All right, thanks, Bagman. The field comes to the line, and they're getting the 1 to go signal. This time by, that brings us down to 3 laps to go. When the green flag waves, it'll be 2 remaining to make up tonight's race. We asked you early on the MRN fan vote who would win tonight's race, and the majority of you said Kyle Busch would win. We'll find out how Kyle does. Certainly in great shape, restarting in the 3rd spot. Backup car, he's been good. He's been solid all night, but he has to get by Brad Keselowski.
Well, he's also going to have to get by his brother, Kurt Busch, but Kurt lines up on the outside of row number 1. In fact, Dave Moody, just make that official for me. You got Kurt on the outside with Brad on the inside, correct?
Actually, it's just the opposite, Jeff. Both cars predominantly black, but it's going to be Brad taking the outside lane, Kurt on the bottom, then Kyle down low, Joey Logano up high in turn 2.
So you've got the Busch brothers working together on the inside of the racetrack, Joe. Then you've got Team Penske with Brad and Joey on the outside. Michael McDowell, best seat in the house to watch this thing unfold.
Michael's best finish of the year was here in February. Finished in the 15th spot. Had a good run going last week at Sonoma, but had a problem late in the race. He's in great position to get a good finish here this evening. David Reagan up there, Clint Boyer, Cole Witt. Once again, the opportunities here for drivers who would not have this possibility at other racetracks, Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, it's sky high. You talk about Michael McDowell in 5th right now. I mean, he's got a great opportunity. David Reagan in 7th. He's got a great opportunity. He's looking good. But, I want to talk about Brad Keselowski real quick. He was our leader. He was on the pole. He decided to move to the outside because his teammate Joey Logano was out there. So now he's got his teammate right behind him that he can draft with. That was the reason for the move to start on the outside.
Somebody may just very well race themselves into the chase. We'll find out here in just 2 laps. They're coming down, looking for the American Ethanol green flag. Everybody on their feet here at Daytona. Brad and Kurt, row 1. Kyle Busch and Joey Logano looking for the American Ethanol green flag.
Only 2 laps remain here at Daytona. Brad Keselowski once again off to a great jump as he takes him into the corner, right on his bumper, pushing him to turn 1. His teammate, Joey Logano.
Logano cannot get clear of Kurt Busch, though. Keselowski gets away by a couple of car lengths. The battle will be side by side for second. Kyle Larson shoves Joey up the banking. Larson up the middle, 3 wide, will challenge Kurt Busch for second.
Leaders coming off turn number 2. Keselowski out in front all by himself. They're bouncing off each other from 3rd on back. Kurt Busch away with 2nd. Here's Logano. He'll regroup for 3rd. Kyle Busch at the bottom of the racetrack.
He's in the 3rd spot. In fact, they are 3 wide for 3rd with Logano in the middle. Trevor Bayne to the outside. All this racing a couple of car lengths behind race leader Brad Keselowski.
Credit 1 bank, 1 to go. The white flag at the start-finish line. Here they come racing back. It's Brad over Kurt Busch. Here comes Kyle Busch diving down to the inside now. Here comes Joey Logano.
Logano on the comeback trail, fires it off to the inside. He wants to move under Kyle Busch, but Kyle pulls to the outside of Kurt Busch in turn 2. At the front, Brad Keselowski by less than a car length to the super stretch.
Final time off turn number 2. Brad Keselowski out in front all by himself. It's a hornet's nest behind him. Kurt Busch to the inside of Kyle Busch. 2 and 3 wide, bouncing off each other. This is for the win at Daytona.
And Brad Keselowski blocking both lanes, goes topside to block the advance from Kyle Busch. Now back to the bottom to advance to block the advance from Kurt Busch. Here comes Logano's. Kurt Busch spins off the corner.
Here comes Brad Keselowski, though, leading as he has most of the evening. He'll score the 100th win in the Cup Series for Team Penske. Brad Keselowski will win the Coke 0400. Kyle Busch comes across in second, then Trevor Bayne, Joey Logano, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Let's go to pit road.
Paul Wolf, the winning crew chief, he's on the radio with his driver, Brad Keselowski. The team celebrating on the pit lane, pulls the right side of his headset off. Paul, congratulations. You guys are headed to victory lane in Daytona.
Yeah, finally. It's we've had a lot of success, obviously, at Talladega, but we just haven't been able to get it done here at Daytona. So really proud of the effort. You know, we had a really fast car, but it also drove well. That was the key tonight. Was a lot of guys lost the handling there in the longer runs. We were able to keep the handling and have the speed. So really proud of the effort.
Winning crew chief Paul Wolf is headed to Gatorade Victory Lane with his team.
20th win for Brad Keselowski. As I said, the 100th win for Team Penske. Rusty Wallace, you brought Team Penske some of those 100 wins.
Well, I did. I was real proud to do that. But I'll tell you, Brad Keselowski, he's really been driving the wheels off that 2 car. And it was pretty obvious from the start of this race. He had the dominant car. We talked about the Ford engine, how strong it was. And Paul just mentioned a great handling car. So between the engine, the car, the team, the fast pit stops, it put him in victory lane.
Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch, Trevor Bayne, Joey Logano, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. That's the top 5. We'll hear from them all in just a moment.
NASCAR Live continues on the Motor Racing Network, presented by the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. Every other truck is history.
What a race.
Awesome job, Brad. Good job. Daytona. A great team effort, man. Really strong. Strong car. Jerry picked through everybody. Great job.
Good job down there, big guy. Good job there.
First time on the 2 car, man. Good job, guys. Man, that's really cool. Thank you, everybody.
Well deserved, big boy. Well deserved.
That's Brad Keselowski and his team, the race winner here at the Coke 0400, powered by Coca-Cola, with today's winning moment brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Order your parts online and pick them up in store in just 30 minutes. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back on the road. Let's head down now to talk to some of the other top finishers. Steve Post is on pit road.
Yeah, Kyle Busch, a second-place run here with the Interstate Batteries Toyota as he raced around the speedway. Kyle, a thrilling one for us to watch, but the racing out there, trying to get the win, trying to get around Brad. Can you describe that, what that was like out there?
It was really close to Talladega. We finished second at Talladega. Just there at the end of the race, I mean, the 2 cars just really, really fast, really, really strong, and it's really hard to get by them. I mean, I tried just about everything. The only thing I didn't quite have was a big enough push one time to just try to make a move. I mean, he was really good at making that thing pretty wide. So yeah, I can't say enough about our Interstate Batteries team for all the work and effort that they put in to bring us back from where we were a couple days ago and being able to get us this really good race car here tonight. So you know, our Toyota Camry was fast thanks to TRD and their horsepower and everybody, NOS Energy Drink, M&Ms, Snickers, Skittles, everybody. So I just wish that we had a little bit more in order to try to get the victory there. I had a big run from the 6. Trevor Bayne really helped us out there at the end and getting us a really good shot down the backstretch. But, man, I just didn't have enough. You know, I just couldn't get to the outside.
Couldn't get to the outside, but he brought this backup car home with a second-place run.